Donald Trump is making progress getting the GOP behind him. He picked up some endorsements this week and won the backing of big donors. But some of the parties still oppose him. To explore the debate among Republicans, here in Washington, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, a Trump supporter. And in Kansas, Republican Congressman Tim Huelskamp, who says backing Trump presents a moral dilemma. Well, gentlemen, let's start with these stories that we just talked about Trump's behavior towards women over the years. Congressman Huelskamp, you already have said that you won't let your 9-year-old son watch Trump on TV because you're concerned about the language that comes out. Do these reports add to your concerns about Trump's character? And you're a Senator Cruz, Ted Cruz supporter. Do you think he should get back in the race now?
Well, I don't think Ted's going to get back in the race, but yes, it raises questions, and it's not just me, but I think there are millions of soccer moms, football dads, baseball dads across America, and they're trying to raise their children in a tough culture. And here they have a presidential candidate who is demeaning to women. He's vulgar, he's crass, and I don't know where they're going to go. I mean, the best thing about Donald Trump today is he's not Hillary Clinton, but he's certainly not a conservative either.
Speaker Gingrich, what do you make of these reports about Trump's treatment of women over the years? And do you have any problems with his behavior?
I think for the New York Times to have this week the reports on Bill Clinton flying around with a pedophile, dismissing his Secret Service agents, and decide that we need to worry about Donald Trump, tells you everything you need to know about the New York Times and the Washington Post. They are in the tank for Hillary. It's going to be unending from now to the election. Trump makes no claims about anything in terms of his life before he ran for office. What he does say is he's been a very successful businessman. He has learned a great deal, and that he would do more to change Washington than any other candidate. Now, 16 other people competed for that, and they lost because people decided the voters' largest vote for any Republican in history was for Donald Trump, because voters decided, you know, he will change Washington.
All right. Well, let's get to the big picture here. Congressman Huelskamp, do you trust Donald Trump as a reliable conservative?
Well, he's certainly not a conservative. You look at the issues, and particularly issues of the heart, like issues of life and marriage and family that are clear in our party platform. I mean, here's the guy who suggested he was going to appoint his pro-abortion sister to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that seems to be the remaining issue, is that conservatives are supposed to vote for Donald Trump because of Supreme Court nominees, and certainly we don't want Hillary Clinton making those nominations. At the end of the day, though, Donald Trump has a problem, I think, with soccer moms, football dads like myself. I have a 9-year-old, and he can't even listen to the guy on television. How will he bridge that gap? I don't know. But when you live and die by the media, and that was his entire primary campaign, it's going to be a tough election moving into November 8th.
Well, look, I think, first of all, Congressman Huelskamp's exactly right. Donald Trump is not a traditional conservative. He's never claimed to be a traditional conservative. But he has said that he will nominate very conservative judges, people worthy of Scalia and Thomas. He is clearly working with the Federalist Society and others to put together a speech on the judiciary that will draw a very sharp line with Hillary. And the question that Congressman Huelskamp and others have to ask themselves is real simple. Hillary Clinton represents, and I think the Reince Priebus said it perfectly, she represents 8 years of bad government in Washington and maybe 100 years of a left-wing Supreme Court. Now, are we really prepared to say that Trump is more dangerous than Hillary Clinton? Because if he's not more dangerous than Hillary Clinton for any rational conservative, then he is dramatically safer as a vote.
Congressman Huelskamp?
Well, the old style of campaigning, the old ideas that supposedly Donald wants to throw out is that it's still here. We're being told, vote for the lesser of two evils, and I understand that. We don't want Hillary Clinton. She will unify the Republican Party. But again, I think there are millions of moms and dads out there that are going to say, you know what, am I going to go to the polls to vote for someone who's demeaning to women? I don't think the New York Times article is a surprise. You live and die by the media, because these are things he said. He has a long pattern of these kind of things that are vulgar and crass. I've got a 14-year-old son. I would never let him say the things Donald Trump says, and I think that will show up in people's minds between now and November, and those moms and dads who like his opposition to Common Core but are worried about his statements about women. And so, but the problem about the fact on who he's going to point to the Supreme Court, Mr. Speaker, he said the other things. I mean, he's all over on all the issues, and that's a problem with the platform. That's a problem on basic life issues, and certainly on marriage issues. This bathroom issue, he's all over the map on that. Folks are looking for some certainty, and you don't see that in the positions of Donald Trump.
Well, I think what you do see is absolute certainty that he will be dramatically more conservative than Hillary Clinton. You see absolute certainty that not just his judgeships, but his cabinet and his appointments will be dramatically more conservative. And there's a deeper issue. Why does he get more votes than any Republican in history in the primaries? Because the country is desperate to overturn the bureaucracy in the city. You just cited an example. We no longer need school boards because a bureaucrat somewhere in Washington can issue a letter and change policy with no public hearings, no elected officials, no local control. If you want to keep going down that road, Hillary Clinton's your answer. If you want to break up the left-wing monopoly of these bureaucracies, Trump is the only person you've got who can do it.
Let me break in here. Congressman Huelskamp, we've talked a lot about life. We've talked a lot about values and treatment of women. When it comes to economic issues like trade, like immigration, like entitlement reform, where do you have the biggest problem with Donald Trump?
Well, I think he said last week he wanted to raise taxes again on the rich. I mean, that is not a conservative position. I think the Speaker and I agree on that. I mean, the idea of slamming down the border shut, that's not a conservative position. Allowing us to compete in the world, that's what conservatives want to do. I mean, but the problem with Donald Trump is his position changes sometimes in the same speech. When he says he's flexible, I see insiders in Washington, not the Speaker, but they say, hey, you know, it's good to see flexibility. That's exactly what the people don't want. They want someone who takes a stand. The problem is Trump's stands are going to change as we move forward. But on basic issues of life, you can't win as a Republican in this country unless you're 100% pro-life, in my opinion. If you don't stick with the party platform, and what I'm hearing from the Trump campaign is that they're flexible on issues of life as well. And that, to me, is going to be very damaging to the millions of values voters. And you might say, well, they can go vote. They're not going to vote for Hillary. No, but they will vote by staying home, and that's my fear about November and Donald Trump.
Mr. Speaker, I do want to talk about this issue of flips, because there's no question that Trump has taken various positions over time. Minimum wage, he was against raising it, now he's for it. Tax cuts. First he was going to cut taxes dramatically for the wealthy. Now he says he's still going to cut them, but not as much, that the tax increase will be smaller. And then there was this change just this week on banning Muslims. Take a look.
For a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
It was a suggestion. Look, anything I say right now, I'm not the president. Everything's a suggestion. No matter what you say, it's a suggestion.
Mr. Speaker, at some point, doesn't what Trump calls his, quote, flexibility become a problem?
Sure, I think, except it's always within a framework. Notice, on the rich, he said he's going to have a smaller tax cut. I mean, one of Trump's problems is he insists on speaking for an hour and 15 minutes off the cuff. And while I do a fair amount of that, I can tell you, anytime you do that day after day with the news media watching, as they should for a presidential candidate, you're going to have moments that you wish you hadn't had. But let me go back as an example of conservatism. Ronald Reagan, in his diary in 1986, says he is signing the Simpson-Mazzoli Act because, which is the immigration bill, because we have to get control of the border. I mean, it's not accurate to say that conservatives can't be in favor of controlling the border. On trade, frankly, and I helped pass NAFTA. I was the whip to help pass NAFTA. I think it's good for us to be a little bit tougher on trade. When you hear, for example, that the Chinese last year probably stole $360 billion in intellectual property from the United States, I think being tough about that's a good thing. I think conservatives can be for very tough-minded trade, not automatically yell free trade while you get ripped off. Congressman, your response.
Well, Donald Trump has no clear position on anything, and those are interesting positions that the Speaker articulates. But it isn't that he talks for a long time; it's that he says different things as he talks. And that's what I think we're going to lose. But conservatives, I think we agree on this. Conservatives don't have to be vulgar, and they certainly are not demeaning to women. in our culture, we have moms and dads across America that are want to see someone of character. Here we have a chance of a lifetime to take out the Clinton machine, and looks like we're going to nominate someone that doesn't share the character. He has the New York values. There's no question about that, and I don't believe it plays well in Kansas or other conservative parts across America. So will voters show up and still vote for a guy like this? I don't know. That's my fear.
Well, Congressman Huelskamp, I mean, it does appear he's going to be the nominee. So if it comes out Trump versus Clinton, what are you going to do?
I don't think it matters. When Congress has a 9% approval rating, it doesn't matter what a congressman from Kansas thinks. But what matters
it matters to me. I mean, it matters to your constituents. What are you going to do, sir?
I don't know. I need to talk to my wife. I mean, we're both so upset about these vulgar statements. I mean, why does he have to talk like that? Why does he have to talk in a brash manner that's so attacking and demeaning to women? I think he's got to find a way to rule that out and say that's not going to happen anymore. But again, it's all words. He's got no actions to back that up. He's clearly not a conservative. Is he better than Hillary? He is. And that didn't work out well for Romney versus Obama in 2012. And I'm fair, we're going to have to vote for the lesser of two evils. And I don't think that's going to work out very well unless we see some clear, consistent changes from Donald Trump.
All right. Finally, Mr. Speaker, and you knew this was coming, there's been a lot of speculation, don't give me that luck, about you running.
I thought you were above this.
No, I'm not above it. This is what I do for a living. And I know you didn't think I was above it. There's a lot of speculation that he is going to ask you to be his running mate. Now, if he asks you, you're certainly going to say yes.
Well, if he asks me, I'm certainly going to say I want to sit down and talk about it. I don't think it's an automatic yes. I think you have to think through what does he think the job involves.
And if he indicates, as I'm sure he would, you're going to play a big role.
If he can convince Callista and me that it's doable and that it's serious and that we would in fact contribute, I think we'd be very hard-pressed not to say yes.
Would you like to do it?
I don't know. I mean, it's certainly a great challenge, but as you know, I have a pretty interesting, exciting life. We're premiering a new movie on Washington and Mount Vernon Friday night. We have a new book coming out, Rediscovering God in America, this week. So we're pretty busy, but we could be lured into a new path.
I was going to say you could fit the vice presidency in, and the House isn't bad either. Mr. Speaker, always a pleasure to talk with you. Congressman Huelskamp, thank you very much too.